So welcome for this episode for December 2023 of Matnum, where we'll talk about photography, computational photography, using my apps that I've developed for my practice and my style. So let's start with the three first pictures. This month's like these last months were a little scarce on photos. There's quite a few today, but I've been working on other projects that will probably come out and hopefully from next month or maybe the months after. But here I've really been focused when using those apps to trying to find new ideas and look at how I narrate and how I compose using those apps. And yeah, those three photos, first, it's really, I wanted to emphasize that's something I'm really working on for my work. What do I want to say? How does the treatment of the image, the graphical treatment, really impact the stories? And here, even so, it's not very explicit. There's not a real story or an incredible composition. I think the treatment really is really a fundamental part of the story that's told by the photos, like this shadow, or I think it's a shadow of myself, or it's somebody who's coming up some stairs on the picture on the left, or the textures that come out in the picture in the middle, or on the right, this parking exit. How the treatment really is basically kind of the most interesting part of the photo, and how it by itself gives clue to a certain story or a certain mystery. Same thing here. This kind of texturizing on the picture on the left, how it gives sort of with an added, that's the insaturator, with an added film relayer on top, gives this kind of feel of an old picture, an old way of processing pictures or printing pictures, or how using the algorithm in the middle, where I emphasize the compression artifacts of the color coding, or simply using the square insaturator on the left image, where it really superimposes a geometrical pattern based on the composition of the image, how the story is different. And here it's not really, again, that's really in my experiments, I'm trying to do something with what I have, trying to go further in what I develop. And here, for example, the two pictures, we're going to see a few this month. I tried to group the treatments together to create some diptychs or a series. And beyond the fact that the pictures we saw before was the planes, there was a geometrical pattern. Here there's those two planes on the tarmac. Either this picture or the one in the middle, where that's actually flying down to Frankfurt, how this effect of folded paper gives it a sense of cohesion. And it's not the same story as if it was just a simple photo coming out of a smartphone with no treatment. Same for the sky on the right. Using this pattern technique, this algorithm, this insaturator, and the added film radar on top, makes it feel very different. The physicality of the image that comes out, even so it's still on the screen, is really different. Talking about the physicality, here are the two pictures, the middle and the left one, using this film relayer that adds lots of grain, some dust, and using the insaturators behind that kind of increases the colors. That's in Iceland. Most of the pictures this month are going to be in Iceland, and that's actually the volcanoes, old volcanoes. Whereas the new one that erupted this month. Would erupt behind those mounts we can see on the middle and right picture between Keflavik and Reykjavik, from the road from Keflavik to Reykjavik. We see that the treatment on the picture on the left really gives it a certain homogeneity, and you feel the two pictures go together. The third one thought the effect is not really different, but it seems a little bit, the treatment is important to give the viewer an idea of a continuity between images and the idea of a series. I'm personally a photographer that doesn't really care about that, but it does have a really significant impact. So here again, also the treatment. Every month I kind of emphasize this, but the pictures on middle and left, that's the same picture, re-edited in the experimental editor in the Camare app. Depending on how you use those insaturators and filtrators, you can have something where the viewer of the picture will have to focus really differently on the subject. The way he looks at it, the way he has to find details, or the way he is attracted to details is going to be real different from the one on the left where there's this thermal printing simulation on an insaturator that tends to make everything kind of dark, or the one in the middle where basically the treatment, the filmator adds the grain, the dust, and the insaturator increases the color contrast. It's kind of bitonal. It's really not the same lecture for the viewer. And here again, also on the right picture, using the folded paper, what would otherwise be kind of a dull, it's still dull, but a boring house, the folded paper kind of makes it harder to see the rooftop. And there's something that will attract the viewer's eye differently. His eye is not going to wander in the same ways if you treat the picture. Same for here, the folded paper in the middle picture. So the picture, by the way, the pictures that are 1:2 in ratio are from Camare, and the other ones in 4:3 are using digital Paula. Well, the folded paper in the middle picture, this is definitely a boring bar. There's nothing really exceptional about it, but having this added transformation to the media brings the story, actually. It brings a story. I'm not saying it's a really interesting story, but there's something for the viewer to grasp, to put his grasp on. And I think that's important in your work. Like this ship we see on the picture on the far right, you don't see it very well, but the viewer is going to have to make a certain effort to go check it out and know what is it? Why is it in the dark? Is there something somber happening? Anyways, this month is going to be, I'm going to talk about those kind of open questions and open discussions about the photos I've taken and why. And the ones I've selected. Every month I try to show photos I like in one way or another, or I find interesting. And this month, for example, those 3 pictures, I'm wondering for the future development of my algorithms and apps, should I go to more black and white modules or monochromatic modules? And I think those are good examples when using my apps in random mode. I might go to some kind of black and white treatment, because black and white is really a different kind of medium. You let your viewer travel into intensities of light and not intensities plus color contrasts. And if there were a red dot in the middle of those pictures, you definitely wonder why there's a red dot, and your sight would be attracted. The monochromatic or black and white picture is going to make things really different for the reader. Then also, I was wondering if developing some more abstract filters, and those are kind of abstract pictures I've taken, which I like. Do I go into the developing of new modules that work with texture, or work on, how would I say, the micro contrast transformation of the pictures, or more like those 2 pictures, the black and white pictures using the square filter, and probably the simulation of this high ISO black and white film? Do I go towards something like this, which creates patterns, and then you as a user, as a photographer, will try to figure out what you can do with it and how to manage it? I don't know. Again, this question, I don't know yet. I'm going to go in a certain direction. I've actually started coding in a certain direction, but the picture in the middle and the right and the left, sorry, that's the same picture, re-edited in the Camare experimental editor. Do I go to black and white? Do I keep some colors? I'm not sure. The black and white is kind of currently something I'm really attracted to, so I might go towards, and I don't have many modules that work by reducing the color set. So, but then you can also go into a more naturalistic approach, like the picture on the right with this New York performer playing at this concert place in Reykjavik, which is named Mengi. if you've seen the video, the serial video where I show the more traditional photography I do, you already have seen this scene using a way different setup. So not very different, but still the textures, the processing gives it some kind of poetry that's different, but they're more subtle. Shall I go towards developing something more subtle? I don't know. Here's it's a dual photo, probably taken with digital Paula. It's actually me on the right. So dual photos, for those who don't remember, is taking a picture on both sides of a device. So one is towards the photographer or the direction facing the device, and the other is 180 degrees away. So yeah, dual photos also. I should maybe work on those a little bit more, changing the options. And there's a story. If you know it's a dual photo, you see there's some figure. Well, that's me, but let's go towards the more abstract thing. There's someone looking somewhere because you know the other photo is 180 degrees in the other direction. So it's actually this figure is looking in that direction. So shall I work more on that concept or more towards something like this where I go into decomposing the color spectrum and creating some not too flashy colory, but more graphical things? Or shall I really bring some new tools that let you do series with some kind of homogeneity in the treatment, like in those two pictures? If you know Reykjavik, that's two pictures that are central and you know the places. But the homogeneity between photos, also the technical revealing, the technical procedure you use is going to let the viewer kind of focus on what's going on in the photos and beyond the treatment, which adds that layer I talked about of bringing some mystery or some ambiance. They will start looking at the series per se and see where it brings you. What's the narration between the images? Here it's not really the case, but still, the picture on the left, that's just I took this picture with a border. All my apps have a border option which you can change, but I rarely use it actually. But I found interesting on this one. It could add something. I'm not a big fan, but here's the treatment is the same on both pictures, and that's when I'm developing. Sometimes it takes a picture on the front-facing camera, and I don't know why I was looking up there, but I kind of liked the way it came out. Same here. I have my eyes closed, so I don't know why, but I thought interesting because when the photo treatment is the same, a little bit like a dual photo, or like the picture we saw before by night, you will push your viewer to believe there's a story between the two. This is just while I was developing. It's kind of randomly generated pictures that I didn't find interesting. I was on the way to erase them, and I was like, oh, can I do a story with it? So yeah, also to remind you that you can do some narration on photos that weren't intended to. If the treatment's kind of the same, it helps the viewer understand they're related, and then they create their own story. Helped by you, obviously, because you made the choice of the photos. Here, two other kind of abstract pictures I thought would be maybe interesting. Shall I go in that direction in my coding? Or again, same treatment. That's western part of the peninsula, of the Reykjavik Peninsula. That was a really cold day, but the treatment being the same, it's kind of reminds you maybe like of a dual photo. It's not, but they're actually both facing the same direction, but from different places, obviously. But yeah, you can start adding layers in your story by creating series. So maybe I should add some tools to my apps that help you create series. Digital Paula has a video producing tool, but it's not really mature, but maybe I should expand that. Here's 3 random pictures in the Reykjavik and community. It's a little bit outside, but with different treatments. I thought they were interesting per se graphically. Or here, just again, Nothing much to say. I just chose them because I kind of liked them. The two pictures, middle and left, at the same time, same moment. So the treatment really gives you a different feel. And actually, the one on the left, the white bottom part, is just linked to the treatment. It makes it look like there's a wall or something like that. But it just was white. But the color analysis and the way the module worked here gives you an impression of kind of a middle bar. Anyways, it kind of randomly appears like this, but it's not that. There's no real. It's the complete image is there. The details are there. There are just no details up and down. Or the picture in the bus on the right. That's just random photos. Here again, two pictures using the same procedure of treatment using digital Paula. That tells a story. Basically, that's a detail. The one on the left, that's a detail of the ground with the snow. And the other one is kind of wide angle, looking at the general scene. Again, the treatment makes it harder to see the details, but you get the ambiance. It sort of filters out the need for the viewer to go understand the small details, but they will still look at it, but it kind of tries to let them stay far away and get the bigger picture. Same here. It seems like two pictures. I found this picture interesting because there's a window. There's two windows. It's separated by a wooden bar, and it looks like a diptych, but it's actually one picture. But yeah, it could be a story between the two. It's just one picture, but that was just the funny part. I thought I would put it here because of this. Here, a few pictures also. Shall I work on modules that do picture in low light situations? I had done in saturators like Ardier that really work with this, but yeah, shall I? That's different concerts in Reykjavik in different places. Or shall I again go back to the black and white thing? That's the night of the 31st of December. In Iceland, they like fireworks, so there's fireworks all over. And not just only at midnight, but the whole night, and it lasts forever. It's pretty fun. It's kind of wild. And yeah, here's the treatment. The black and white gives a certain feel. The color photo does too. The treatment here kind of blurs out the high contrast of the fireworks, but gives you a different impression. And the folded paper obviously adds some texture. Or here, two last pictures for this month. That's digital Paula. Yeah, nights in Reykjavik, the snow, and how the treatment can really transform the scenes. I don't know. It was kind of a fuzzy meaning YouTube video, which can happen with SmatNum. But anyways, my idea here was to give you a kind of an overview of the photos I liked this month using my computational photography software. If you have questions, ideas, propositions, just don't hesitate as usual. And yeah, hopefully that was still enjoyable, and catch you next time.